Hey folks, it's Jeremy, the host of Blammo. Thanks so much for listening. This is a preview of one of our exclusive shows on Patreon. These are member-supported shows, meaning they only happen because of our incredible members and community. So check out a preview of the episode, and if you like it, consider joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/Blammo, where we have tons of exclusive Blammo episodes, shows, our amazing Slack group, and we're adding new things for members all the time. If not, no worries, we still love you, and we literally have hundreds of episodes of Blammo all free for you to dive into. Thanks so much.
Good to see you, Derek. How you doing?
Hey, Peter.
Doing all right?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing good. Doing good. A little tired. Stayed up late last night. Saw the opening night of Frankenstein at San Francisco Ballet. You know what's funny is I got into my old wedding outfit from 25 years ago because for Frankenstein, they encouraged people to dress up. And a lot of people did. I ended up not wearing my old wedding outfit because I'm too fat for it now. I had it custom made from a guy for $500, which sounds like a good deal.
Well, 25 years ago, that's a lot of money.
It was a lot of money, but if you
25 years ago, that's like $1,000, right?
Yeah, $1,000, $1,500.
I mean, that's like $1,000 to $1,500 is like a decent suit right now.
It is, but I mean, if someone paid that much money for what they ended up getting, like
Okay.
I'll show you. Compare it to the jacket that you're wearing right now, which is from Solito, right?
Yeah.
The finishing is terrible. It's really amateur. It fits funny. It's finished terribly. Anyway, I'll show you.
Wow. Whoa, that's crazy. This is your wedding outfit?
That is my wedding outfit. So a little bit of background.
That is an outfit.
Pretty fancy, huh?
That is an outfit.
So
That's not a suit. This is like a velvet coat.
it is. So it's a velvet coat, polyester velvet, which I didn't know any better. I wasn't like, is it silk? Is it cotton?
I mean, it looks the same.
But it feels kind of cheap. I mean, the lining is not the softest Bemberg. It's finished very, very amateurly, but it's part of my past, and I really, really like it.
They're like these like floral buttons.
You're right. They are glass buttons with a floral design to them. That was the designer's idea, and I said, that sounds amazing. Let's go for it. As opposed to metal buttons or just regular
I think floral buttons is the right move.
It's great. It's still tone on tone, so it's got a little bit of shimmer to it, but it's black glass. It's a great jacket. I'll try it on. You should check out these shoulders. They're pretty impressive. The jacket still does fit me. The pants, though, I got really into weights afterward, and my thighs are just ripping out of the pants.
Okay.
And not in a good way. The pants are wool. The vest is wool. The buttons are matching velvet. The collar is a shawl collar, very high, matching velvet.
You know what? That's actually kind of cool, I gotta say. Like, when you pulled it out, I was like, that's crazy, but it actually looks kind of cool. I will say you look like one of those guys that comes on to Style Forum with the craziest wardrobe, and they post and nobody knows what to say because the outfit is so crazy, but clearly the person has a very specific point of view. It's like it's like an outfit out of like Les Miserables, kind of, I don't know, like a general colonial dandy.
That's exactly the look we were going for. Well, not
actually,
exactly.
I have to say, though, it does look good. It's a little tight in the waist.
Yeah, well, I told you I got fat.
Yeah, it's a little tight in the waist, but actually, if you don't button it, shockingly looks good. Because when you pulled it out, I was like, that is an insane garment. But when you actually put it on, it actually looks good.
It's got a stand-up
Shockingly
collar.
looks good. Yeah.
So the reason why I still have this is you never want to give away your wedding suit, even if you can't fit into it anymore. Or you can use it as a means, a measuring yard where you used to be when you were young and slim. But my wife said when we were dating and when we decided to get married, she wanted to have a theme wedding. And I'm like, great, that sounds awesome. What kind of theme are you going for? And she says 15th century. And I'm like, I can't wear a codpiece. That's where I draw the line. I cannot wear a codpiece. So what if you do your 15th century dress and I do my 18th century outfit? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to
yeah.
wag a finger and say, that's not right.
Yeah.
So I went for an 18th century or 19th century kind of French look with the matching pants, matching vest, everything black wool. And the coat, though, was kind of my design along with the designer. I wanted the turn back lapel. I wanted the high collar. And he says, yeah, I can do that. $500. This was made by a guy who used to work at Lacis, which is in Berkeley on Adeline and Ashby.
Okay.
Or Shattuck and Ashby, actually. And that place is still there. They have a lot of really interesting lace and other material if you're into sewing. Not too far from, I think it's called Mountain High Button Company.
Okay.
That used to be there on Shattuck. I don't know if it's still there. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. And that reminded me of a topic that we were going to speak of, and that is cosplay.
Yeah.
Cosplay gets a lot of flack, but it is kind of fun.
Well, for people that don't know, the word cosplay comes from costume play. And the funny thing is that when I think of the word, I mainly think of like costume kind of anime fan kind of groups that dress in their like anime kind of outfits.
For comic conventions.
Yeah, comic conventions. When I was young, one of the weird cultural shifts that I've noticed is that when I was young, I mean, like I was a nerd, but there were like levels to nerds. And people that were into anime were like at
nerd level at 8 or 9.
I mean, they're like the top of the nerd totem pole, but at the bottom of the general social totem pole, right? Like they were super nerds. But over time, anime has become cool.
It
weirdly.
has. Yeah, absolutely.
Shockingly.
Yeah.
Like rappers talk about anime.
Yeah.
Like young people, I think young people are also less gatekeeping-ish and like less, seemingly less judgmental about certain things.
But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right regarding the next generation. They don't have, or they have less of an attachment to clothing being associated with certain social circles. And which is it's very similar to Japan, where Japan, if they like something, then they just get really into it, regardless of whether or not it's conventional in their particular social circle. I mean, they do understandably know that when you go to the office, you probably don't want to dress like a 50s hillbilly.
Yeah.
Or a greaser. But outside of that, they're like, let's just have fun and let's dress up and let's get really into it.
Yeah, I don't know how these kind of cosplay societies are viewed in Japanese culture, but in the US, I've always thought of that as like super nerds. And in college, I knew someone who was into that stuff. She was like a normal kind of like just normal, like everyone else, like, you know, in like daily life. But I knew that she was into anime and that she went to cosplay conventions or like these like events.
Nice.
And that she dressed up as like these kind of characters. And I remember thinking that like in high school, I thought like, oh, those people are kind of weird. I mean, I'm just being honest, you know? And in college, I thought it's a weird thing to be into, an unusual thing to be into.
Yeah.
And then I learned years later after I graduated that at the time, you know, this college woman that I knew had become a pattern maker and designer for a very large clothing company.
Really?
And it totally opened up my mind to understanding that cosplay in that like original sense of the term, like the original kind of like Comic-Con, those type of people are actually engaged in a pretty high level of craft.
Oh, yeah. I think of the people that work for the San Francisco Ballet and San Francisco Opera. There's a costume department, and they have to make costumes of every genre you can possibly think of. There's the costume department that fits, I believe a year or two ago, there was an opera on Steve Jobs, and then the one for Frankenstein that just happened. Then there's the one for Swan Lake. There's the one for operas that are set in the 1700s and the 1500s and the 1800s, just every type of social status. Those are just amazing people that are super talented.
Yeah, I feel like if you are interested in any technical aspect of fashion, whether it's bespoke tailoring or whatever, Rick Owens, Comme des Garçons, anything like when you're watching a runway and you're wondering how they created that, it's hard once you understand that cosplay, in the original sense of the term, involves an incredible amount of technical craft. I mean, those people are essentially creating bespoke garments.
Yeah.
It's hard on a technical level to not appreciate the amount of work, creativity, technical craft, sewing, pattern making, understanding like back balance, front balance, all of, how a sleeve should fit, understanding all of these things. That is basically what you are witnessing when people are putting together fairly like amazing,
very intricate costumes.
I think in the menswear community, most of the time when we use the term cosplay, we're not talking about people dressing up like
Star
an anime
Wars
character. It's usually used as a description of someone who is dressing a little bit outside of the norm.
Also, I've heard it used if someone is dressing in a certain way that is not their occupation. For example, people who wear suits and they're laborers, or people who wear workwear when they work in an office.
Yeah.
I hear that thrown out a bit. And I think it's usually disingenuous. And their reasoning is, why do you dress like that if that is not your occupation, or you're not presently working as a electrician or a construction worker, or you're not actually going into the office, or you're not going before the judge and wearing a suit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I mean, the easy retort to that, as anyone who has even spent any time reading about menswear knows, almost everything that we wear derives from some type of lifestyle or occupation or some type of, kind of trade that we generally don't have a connection with. Like jeans come from mining.
Right.
Like the original loafers were worn by like fishermen, and, like peacoats were worn by
naval
officers, and you go on and on.
Fly jackets, overalls.
Almost everything in menswear derives, if you trace it back far enough, something dealing with sport, work, war, something like that.
Yeah.
And most of us are not like, you might wear a rugby shirt, but you're probably not a rugby player. You're not involved in all of these trades that, birth all these clothes.
Starter jacket, but you don't play for any football team.
Yeah. So to some degree, I think that's the obvious kind of counter, but there is also something about certain styles are a little bit more outside the
convention.
Norm.
Yeah.
Like what you normally see day-to-day life. And I think sometimes when the word cosplay as a general matter comes up in menswear discussions, my first reaction, or I would say my most common reaction, is that I often feel like it's coming from people who themselves are holding a particular anxiety about dressing differently from other people.
Oh, yeah.
So they're like, they
100%.
see someone who's dressed a certain way, and that person may be totally comfortable with the fact that they're dressed differently from other people. They may be totally aware and comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They might be dressed like a 1930s miner, or like a 1960s businessman, whatever it is, right?
Flash, superhero.
Yeah, they're totally comfortable and aware that they are dressed differently than other people. But when the person uses the word cosplay, to me, it often is speaking more about the person who's using that word and their particular anxieties of looking different from other people. And it reminds me of, and I've mentioned this study in articles before, but for those who may have not come across it.
Oh, is this the one about the spotlight theory?
The spotlight effect.
Yeah.
The term spotlight effect comes from psychology. Comes from a university's name I can't quite remember, but it's one of the major universities. And anyone who may have gone to college knows that oftentimes people, the professors or the grad students will use students as part of their studies, so psychology studies or social experiments, surveys, or whatever. So in this particular study, some people got together and they put out flyers and they said, if you want to earn, there's always like an
incentive,
like a bait, like a little bait to get students to do these things. They said, if you want to earn whatever it was, like $20 to participate in this social study, please come to this office and we'll give you instructions. So all the students arrive, and as they come in, every student is told to go to some room at a certain time and date, except for one student who, unbeknownst to them, is the mark. So everyone is told to go to room, like 103. And then one student who's, again, unbeknownst to them, is the mark, is told to go to room 305 or whatever, right? So on that date, everyone goes to that one room, and the one student who's the mark goes to a different room. And at that room, they are met with one of the principals of the study. And that principal says, oh, we changed the location at the last minute. It's actually being held at room 103. But, the study is like, you're running kind of late. You have to really rush and you have to get there quickly in order to be part of the study. But before you go, you have to put on this T-shirt. And on the T-shirt was a giant print of Barry Manilow.
Nice.
The funny thing is that this paper was published in a peer-reviewed psychology journal, and the footnote inside an incredibly famous psychology paper, the footnote says that Barry Manilow was considered to be a very embarrassing person to young people at the time, which is like an insane thing to say. Like, imagine if someone said that. Peter Zotolo, like, young people thought Peter Zotolo was a loser. Just for the record. So you understand the cultural context. Peter was considered a complete loser to anyone under the age of 22.
I don't know if Barry Manilow will ever be the same afterwards.
So this person puts on a T-shirt with Barry Manilow's face. And you have to put yourself in this person's position. You put on the T-shirt, you grab your backpack, you're running to room 103. You get to room 103, you open the door, and they've positioned the chairs in such a way that everyone's facing the door.
Naturally.
So you open the door and you see everyone seated and they're all facing you. And then you have to find a seat. Like, when you arrive late to class, you have to find a seat. And then you take off your backpack, you sit down. And then once you sit down, the principal in that room, that's part of the principal of the study, says, you know what? You've actually arrived a little bit too late. And unfortunately, we just can't include you.
Oh, he makes them leave?
You just, like you can't participate. Unfortunately, you have to leave. So now you have to grab your backpack. You have to get up. Everyone hears the chair scooching back,
Right.
the grating of the metal. Everyone's quiet. And then you
As
walk
your
out the
face
door.
burns, beet red.
Yeah. So now you exit the door. And there, again, unbeknownst to you, is the third principle of the study. And that's when the study really starts. That person asks you a series of questions.
Oh.
And one of the questions is, how many people in the room do you think estimate the percentage of the people in the room noticed your Barry Manilow T-shirt? And at the same time, the principal inside the room, the second principal, asked the people in the room, how many people here can describe that person's T-shirt? And over again, as they conducted these experiments, the person who left the room overestimates how many people noticed and can remember their T-shirt. And the spotlight effect is the idea that your feelings anchor your reading of people's reaction. So when you're running through the hallways and you're flustered, you're nervous, you're trying to get to this thing, you open the door, you see all these people facing you, you're like, oh, I'm wearing this stupid T-shirt. Why aren't they wearing a stupid T-shirt? You sit down, oh, now I have to get up. You scooch the chair back, you walk outside. Then you're thinking like, everybody thinks I'm stupid. Everybody knows the stupid T-shirt. Like, I look like a moron. And in reality, everyone inside the room, their feelings are anchoring, like they're the center of their own world. They're their own main character. They're paying attention to whatever they're paying attention to, which is, like
the class
and like, when's it starting? Like, they are not thinking about your teacher. There are some people that may notice your T-shirt, but I would bet like after an hour, they don't even remember it anymore. It's just not not that big of a deal to them. It's only a big deal to you because you feel flustered. And because you feel flustered, you're thinking that everyone is noticing you and thinking that you're stupid. And the spotlight effect is this basic idea. And I think that when you wear a new piece of clothing, and to me, this is super obvious when it comes to like hats, because hats is the thing that's like on your face.
Yeah, it's you cannot not see it.
Yeah, like hats are rare, and then it's sitting on your face. Like, it's a crazy thing to put on your face. And then you're walking around, you're the only person wearing this thing on their head. And so therefore you get really self-conscious.
Right.
You're like, everyone thinks I'm stupid with this hat, in a way that I don't think happens as much when you're wearing shoes or shirts or something. A hat is like so personal.
It's literally, it's not in your face, but it's on your face.
The funny thing is, I remember reading this one guy online. I can't remember who it was, but it was like the super handsome guy. And he was saying how he gets over the anxiety of wearing a hat. And he said he just does it for a short period of time. Like, he'll wear a hat to the store or like the cafe, and then he'll go home.
Yeah.
And then he'll wear it on like whatever, a little bit longer. And after a while, like he doesn't have the anxiety anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and the reality is, Frank, like for me as an outsider looking in, that's a super handsome dude with a hat. And what I'm thinking is, I wish I looked as cool as that guy.
Right.
Right. But if he was going out on the first time, is thinking like, oh, is everyone noticing my hat? I feel weird. I feel uncomfortable. Like everyone thinks I'm stupid. And his feelings are anchoring his anxieties. So I feel like when people use the word cosplay, what they're often referring to, there is something to be said about dressing in a mode that is further and further from the norm.
Right.
I think, you know, like wearing a sport coat, as we often talk about on this podcast, is different from the norm.
Right.
If you wear it with a 1930s sport coat with a 1930s tie, that's even further from the norm.
Right.
Right. There are degrees of how far you go out.
Yes.
But when someone uses the word cosplay, I often feel like...
Want to hear the rest? Listen to the full episode and many more other exclusive episodes over on our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Blamo to sign up and join the Blam fam. You also get access to our exclusive members-only Slack group where we chat about this and a ton of other things. So head over to patreon.com/Blamo and we'll see you there.